Loners of Reddit, what was your way of dealing with loneliness as a kid that you didn't realize until you grew up? I used to play sports all by myself. I'd toss a football up and run to it and pretend I was playing against other people. This makes me really sad. I hope you have a good set of friends now. Thank you. I do. Fortunately I did play organized sports, so I was social. It's just when I got home I didn't want to be around people / my dad wouldn't let me have friends over. I would make scenarios in my mind and kinda go with the motions with the story. Still do this all the time. I've lived thousands of lives. I wonder why people hate queues so much, because I can just go into my mind and roam around in there for all sorts of escape. I have done this for over 14 years now, and I'm so habituated that I can't sleep without thinking about the story. Listening to music pretty much constantly. Yeah, mostly this. I discovered that music can tailor one's mood. Enhance it, negate it, change it entirely. It's an enormous boon. Until you fall into depression and can't bear to listen to anything happy or upbeat, so you spend days at a time listening to the darkest shit you can find, and it only makes it worse. When I'm truly depressed I just don't listen to music. Sad music doesn't aid my depression, it inspires me out of it. So many high school afternoons spent at my locker listening to Fall Out Boy. Obsessive reading. So much it became a problem. I read in school during class instead of working, through recess, on the bus. I spent every waking moment of my life with my nose in a book. That's why I can't pick up a book unless I'm on vacation or have a few days off. I'm going to read it, and another, and another, and another. I'm still in school, and everyone there constantly asks me why my nose is in a book. I don't know. Try finding a book of your interest and see how easy it is to put it down. People kept calling me a nerd for reading books. They will never understand the joy of speeding through a good 800-page long book in one day. Schools don't do a particularly good job at empowering kids to read either. I love reading books and I can read them forever, but whenever we had to read one for school it was a pain in the ass, even when the story could have been quite good. Pretty much just talking to myself. It's become such a habit that I still do it occasionally these days. Talking to yourself or stuff around your house is healthy, as long as nothing talks back. Started it to practice conversation because I was so socially awkward. When I picked up philosophy I started doing debates in my head most nights before bed. Socratic method in a can. It always takes a long ass time to get to sleep because my brain won't shut up. Sometimes I smile and laugh at my own jokes too, and people around me will just look at me weird. When they ask me what I'm smiling at I don't really know what to reply. Occasionally I find myself completely on my own for a few days for work. I typically choose to work those times to give myself a bit of space from both school and family commitments, and what I've ended up doing is just recording my thoughts for 20 to 45 minutes at a time. It gives me a chance to fully process anything that's been going on the past few weeks. I used to sleep with all my plush toys, laying them in what I thought were friends groups, all the bears together, the dog and the cat because they were cousins, etc. I even remember waking up at the middle of the night to face the other side, so those who were at my back wouldn't get sad. Oof. I did this too. So many stuffed animals in my bed because I didn't want any of them to feel left out. In middle school when I had no friends, I brought a stuffed animal in my backpack so I could look at it every time I went to grab a notebook or something to remind myself I wasn't alone. I was similar. I would sleep at the edge of my bed so all my stuffed animals could sleep lined up on the pillow beside me. And every night I'd rotate them so they each got a turn being closest to me, to avoid favoritism. Walking. I used to walk miles when I was a kid. Realized in my 40s why I did it so much, but now in my 60s I can't do it anymore and it's hard. I walked too and read lots of books. I wasn't lonely as a kid, I just didn't know anything else. Yeah, I walked a lot, but it was mostly to focus and think. It became a habit over time. I grew up in the country where this was a lot easier. Now it's a little tougher for me to go on long walks without seeing people. Started practicing meditation this year and realized that my long walks were just meditation. Never made the connection until I intentionally started meditating and my brain immediately went to the same space. Walking around the house when alone. Also, walked when I was eating. Why? I don't know. Creating imaginary worlds. I did that all of the time. I'd make up imaginary worlds and stories and then write them down in little book forms. This, of course, backfired when one of my teachers decided to encourage me by making me read one story in front of my second grade class one day, thus making me look even more like a weirdo. Since then I stick to putting my short fiction and fanfiction on the internet rather than letting my family/friends read it. I'd rather have criticism and praise from strangers rather than let the people around me see that side of me again. Creating whole imaginary universes spanning dozens or even hundreds of characters. I just thought I was creative, but apparently this is a coping mechanism and I am deeply damaged. Huh. Who'da thinked it? Zoning out and staring at random things. I was always told to stop doing it as a child, but I'm now thankful that I can do it because it shuts off everything. I can't hear, I can't move, and I can't speak. Just peace. Edit. I have had some traumatic events happen, which is probably why I'm able to do this to the degree that I can. I once glared at someone for 45 minutes during a class, so I've learned to zone out while staring at a window. It gets awkward sometimes. It sometimes happens subconsciously, other times I can turn it on and off. Acting and talking as the main character in a drama I create in my head. I watch a lot of anime and act like the characters I like, sometimes even replicate their stories and generally talk a lot to myself. I like to create crossovers or alternative stories of movies, books, games or whatever I like at the moment. Not really to cope with loneliness though. I do it just because it's fun. My parents got me a dog. It completely changed my life. I went from excruciatingly lonely to having a best friend overnight. It also changed me as a person. I was outside a lot more, and became more socially because I was happier. If you ever thought about getting a dog, head to a shelter and see if it's right for you. Plenty around. I was a very shy kid and very quiet. One day when I was 8, we got a dog from the shelter. Next day at school I wouldn't shut up about my cute new dog, told everyone stories about her, showed pictures etc. The teacher actually told my parents that the dog changed me and that it was a very good decision. She lived to be 16 and was a very good dog. My parents never would let me have a dog, or any pet for that matter. I was like, please, you don't understand. I have so much love in my heart and nowhere to put it. I was depressed and lonely and had a horrible self-esteem. I still think having something that was mine to love and care for would have really been therapeutic for me. Now I'm just emotionally stunted and don't know how to express or receive affection. As soon as I got out on my own I got a dog, and then more dogs, and I haven't looked back since. They are so good. Make my own world. Create a fantasy containing the facts and what I'd like to happen. I loved it but lost it somehow. So now I'm just lonely. Immersing myself in an imaginary world. I now realize it was a coping mechanism for my chaotic environment too. I'm 20 and still have it, but I need to let it go because I have a habit of slipping in and out of it when I'm doing essential things. The adult world makes it hard to foster imagination. Video games, and writing fantasy stories. Gaming, you never feel lonely in an imaginary world. I had almost no friends while I was growing up in high school. At the time it seemed pretty permanent. However, after that all finished and got a job straight out of school, everything changed. It sounds silly, but I just felt a lot more confident being in surroundings where people didn't know me while I was 12. All I'm trying to say is nothing is permanent. And don't give up. I had a doll called Friend. Therefore, I had a friend. I didn't play with her, she sat on a shelf in my room and made me seem more normal. The only lonely thing about being a loner was that other people thought it was weird that I preferred my own company. If other people would just let me be, I wouldn't have even noticed that I was supposed to feel lonely when I was by myself. I always imagined that I was Batman and that Batman would never get lonely cause he was cool. I also go on imaginary Pokémon journeys and catch new Pokémon whenever I used to go somewhere alone. Writing self-insert stories, drawing stuff, sitting on the internet where I wasn't so lonely. But now I just accepted the fact I'm a loner, not really lonely since I enjoy every moment I can spend on sitting at home without talking to people. I turned into an extreme introvert with social anxiety. I used to get angry at my friends for laughing at me for having imaginary pets, and then I realized my friends were imaginary too and that I was just sitting in my bed at 1 AM writing on Reddit. How did you deal with loneliness in childhood? Leave a comment. And subscribe to this channel if you wanna see more same videos.